Bingo. There's one. There's two. Okay. Hi. As soon as I say hi, never fails. Hello, downward dog. So my name's Michael. This is Henry. Henry will be my assistant today. Dude, you gotta face the camera. I'm kidding. He's actually more like, it's mid-afternoon and I want attention. Nope, you away, my friend. I may have to break momentarily here to get him a bone just so that he is otherwise occupied. Anyway, hey, welcome. Hi, everyone. My name's Michael. I will be leading our meditation today. I thought maybe actually, it's a good practice to reintroduce ideas that have been spoken to before, either in terms of class setup or the particulars of the practice. I mean, that's why we call it a practice, because you do it over and over and over. And if you're anything like me, slow learner, but slowly over time, little things begin to stick. So we have some at least one, perhaps more than one new person. They're not new to themselves, they're new to our group. So welcome. I was mentioning at the outset that we may over the coming weeks have some of the Epilepsy Alberta community joining us. This is one of the wonderful things about Zoom, is that we could truly be, I guess, global in that sense. So our little group on Queen Street East gets a little bit bigger. So welcome. And if you're if you have any questions, whether you are new to the group or not, know that at the outset of the practice you can ask. At the end of the practice you can certainly, that's wonderful. We have some really rich discussions in there. So although there's no obligation, no one should feel on the spot. I have a regular sit actually with a former student of mine and a friend of mine, and when one of the first sessions we had, we're basically sitting once a week and then sitting every day in between, and then we meet back up and talk about what's come up and what hasn't. And interestingly, like one of the very first things he had recognized in doing this is that he felt a need to report back to me about what was happening or what wasn't. And I don't want anyone to feel obligated in that way. The shares are just that. If you have something great to share, awesome, or a question, superb, but please don't feel any obligation. That being said, no dumb questions, truly, and all contributions are welcome. If you are, this won't be a surprise, I don't think, to those that have been practicing with our group for any amount of time. I'm a bit allergic to, at least as applied to myself, honorifics and any sort of deference to authority or teacher or any of that stuff. Nonsense. We can dismiss the idea that there's a one-way flow of knowledge or wisdom in this practice. I can't speak for anyone other than myself, but certainly I have learned as much as I feel like I've taught, as long as I've been part of this group. And if I might add, on that note, thank you so much for all the well wishes. It was really a nice pick-me-up. Not that it was a surprise, but post-dental surgery, post one of two dental surgeries, I got all these notes from the group wishing me well and asking me to hang in there and all that good stuff. So thank you. They landed. I appreciate it. You're good eggs. That's it for sure. I also wanted to point out one in particular, which I often get the emails and I crack up like an egg. And the one that got me was, and I won't out the person, although they may wish to out themselves. The observation in terms of my own little email update that I was finding it challenging to just relax and be with the kind of the post-surgery pain and be okay with things not being ideal. That this was something that a member of our group had picked up about me in the practice, to which I would say, well observed. That is quite right. I'm a terrible patient, and think that this is all by way of saying thank you for the observation, because it really got me thinking. And while early in the week I was a bit of a pain for my partner, and I think for the dogs, and people who had to deal with me being frustrated with not being able to move like I normally do. I actually took the sage words of advice to heart, and later in the week I really settled in. And yesterday in particular I was feeling good and I wanted to move my body, and I had all sorts of chores and errands and projects and stuff that I wanted to dive back into, and I didn't. I took the entire day and just relaxed and tried to allow myself to recover. So yeah, but I also, the other part of that is that, like, we practice because there's no perfect, right? And I would be the first to, well, hopefully not the first, but certainly in terms of being someone in this seat, like someone leading a meditation or a yoga class, I, on one hand, like, I don't know that there's any real danger or real problem with this, but I always just kind of find it a little funny, a little amusing, when people who are teaching, say, a meditation class take on the affectation of, a sort of more evolved, enlightened state, like they're somehow a more complete, the practice has been done, the work is over, and now, they're here to offer their, the bits of wisdom to you and, you mere mortals in your life. Well, those teachers may be enlightened. I am certainly not. I am very much a work in progress, as I think most people are. And I think it's really important to speak to that, and just demystify things and recognize that we're doing all this for, presumably for a reason. And it's not, not necessarily to have all the answers. It's to practice and see what comes up. Okay. And to, increasingly, become more and more aware of ourselves and of our environment and the world and all the rest of it. So thank you, unnamed observer last week. You rock. You all do. Now, with that in mind, here's today's practice. We are going to, and if you didn't get the email, I believe that I had said that this would be a practice of somatic settling, like letting your body settle. I feel like sometimes when I set these up, I say, like, and so this is a main practice of mine. I do this all the time. And you might be saying to yourself, dude, you've got like 15 of these things on the go. True. This one, though, it really is, it's quite valuable. Sorry, I'm just admitting someone here. And valuable and important in terms of the day-to-day of my life. I think that it has something to, the idea of allowing your body to settle and to not be, jerked around by it, feeling like you need to respond to it or that it needs to attend to anything, is something that for many people is quite difficult. It's quite challenging, as I alluded to a moment ago. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a wonderful opportunity to explore what we're going to do today, which is to simply settle in our bodies and relax and try to get really still. Okay? So however you want to organize your body. Okay? You can see I'm sitting on a block. This pose, though, just to be clear, not super comfortable unless your hips are, opened up from doing a bunch of yoga. So you could be sitting in a chair. You could be lying down. All I would say is that if you are in a chair or on a couch or something like that, you may want to bring your back away just so that you don't get too comfortable and you're not slumped, okay, like that. So we're aiming for a sort of a stance that's proud, okay? Proud without being boastful. So we're not like that. We're just here, okay? And if you were lying down, you can just bring your hands up with the backs of your arms resting on the ground. And then if sleep, our old friend sleep comes, the arms start to drop and the writing response will wake you up, okay? All right, so let's just arrive. What do I mean when I say arrive? Well, it comes with some decisions. First, you may decide to close your eyes. Notice I said may decide. You may adjust in your seat. And then you might inquire, our first sort of query of the practice, looking inside, notice what you notice. Notice what is happening. Just observing the set, if you will. What do you bring to the practice today, both in terms of your physical body and perhaps in terms of your mind? Not that there needs to be a distinction between those two. They're integrated. So you may have a lot of energy or little. You may notice an emotional tone. So just sort of an underlying feeling of contentedness or angst or unsettledness or calm or anything in between. Just take note of that. Your mind might be howling at you like the wind outside or like the dog on the couch. Okay. And then notice your setting. So notice what's going on outside of your body. And if you've recognized that I'm appropriating the terminology of a psychedelic trip, I've been reading. I'm just outing myself about some stuff I've been reading recently. But I think that the terms work in this setting. The set of our body, the setting of our environment. Some of us will have a completely calm, solitary space that we're in. For others, there might be chaos. Whether we're talking about what's going on inside or what's going on outside, let's resolve for right now to be okay with it. Not trying to actively change it, either of those things, knowing that they will change on their own. And you don't have to take my word for it. It'll happen. Just watch. Good. And you may wish at this point to choose an object upon which to settle your focus. Let's call this the settling in. So if we've arrived, you're actually here, and I mean here. There's physically here, and then there's like distracted and mentally, bye-bye. Can you, if your monkey mind is kind of skittering around, can you just bring it back? Paying attention to what's here. And I'm going to leave the point of focus for this meditation up to you. I'll make suggestions here. Say 3 suggestions, and you can drop into any of those 3 or something else. Choose what works for you. Let's begin by settling on the feeling of our breath. Not breathing in a particular way. Okay, this is not a prana exercise, so you don't have to control your breath or shape it. Just notice it. You might even notice a particular location or sensation. Tip of nose, throat, sternum, or my personal favorite in recent days, sides of our body. As we inhale, they expand out. As we exhale, everything tucking just gently back in. Alternatively, you can maybe move, not away from your breath, but let's just expand what we're paying attention to. So again, if breath is a good place, staying with breath. If not, maybe bringing your attention right out to the edges of your body. So like the feeling of where your skin meets the air, meets clothing, meets your seat. And if your eyes are closed especially, this can have the sort of impact or sensation of being like just sort of a fuzzy ball of sensation. Can't really see your body with eyes closed, but you can see your body with your body. You can feel where it is and where it isn't. And alternately, and this would be if your eyes are open, you might want to bring the whole room, the entirety of your immediate experience. Really, the choice is academic. Pick what feels most natural. This could vary by person. Certainly it's going to vary by person, and it might by day. So what feels right yesterday might not feel like the right choice today. So no wrong choices, but let's commit. Okay, good. So really feeling your body. Feeling your breath. Or feeling the sense of space that you find yourself in. Now, because our intention here is to allow our body to settle, which, as I say, depending on what we brought to the party, depending on how we were feeling when we arrived, depending on what's going on around us, this may be more or less accessible. So if you feel the need, before we go any further, to move, let's do that now. If there's an itch or there's a stretch, or you need to just shake a little bit to release some energy, maybe lengthening the exhales. And then returning to stillness. The idea being here that we can spend a fairly torturous 20 minutes or so fighting to remain still rather than just giving our body what it wants. So if your body wants to contract and release, do that. If that little shake to get rid of some kind of loose energy helps, shake it out. And rarely will a lengthened, more expansive exhale not serve us. So, in terms of settling, so might make it the exhale of the breath slightly longer, slightly deeper. And the inhale just follows naturally. Super chill, super relaxed. Okay, now I'm going to leave us in silence for a few minutes, as we always do. And in this silence, can you just drop in to being quiet, to being peaceful? to allowing the stillness to happen. So you may notice that your heart rate is slowed. You may notice a change in temperature in your body. Maybe a bit cooler from not moving, or warmer, whatever. Perhaps a feeling of, they say that's settling, just that there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. What would this sit be like if there was no problem to solve? Just being. And if distractions, if thoughts or anything else pull you out of the meditation and you notice, that's a win. Congrats, you're meditating. Just return to where you were. You woke up. Feelings of dissatisfaction or boredom or an anticipation, when is this going to be over, or whatever it is that comes up, all of which are normal, all of which are natural. Maybe consider this. You can't force a plant to grow. If you plant a seed, anyone, the most novice gardener, recognizes that it's, it's soil, it's water, it's sun. And that's what the plant needs to grow. It needs the conditions. can't force it. You can't speed it up or make it happen. Samesies, same thing here. Let's not force the meditation. Let's just let your body settle. And if you feel pain, of course, adjusting. But otherwise, approaching this like you would a potato chip. Be wary. One move begets another, begets another, begets another, or thought, or what have you. So we can eat chips later. We can mix our metaphors right now. Just let it be. So as we move into we may call the stretch run here of our set, the final curve on the track. Maybe just noticing this. Are you even subtly trying to direct your experience? Is your mind trying to assert some measure of control? Silly mind, we don't need control. I may say that control's a bit of a fiction anyway. Now, how might that manifest? If something feels nice, pleasant, or in line with what perhaps we were expecting, we may have a tendency to cling, to hold on to it. Let's release that. Let's let go. Now, conversely, if we're experiencing things that don't feel as nice, or that our judging mind determines, nah, I'm not up for that, thank you, or I'd rather not have that. This feels, yeah, or I like this better, or whatever. The natural tendency is one of aversion, pushing things away, avoiding, running. Like clinging, counterproductive. In general, you might simply just inquire, are you resisting some element of your experience? Or are you clinging? Are you holding on to some element of your experience? You might be doing both. Whoa, things get really weird. or you might be lost in thought. You might be confused about what's even happening. Also totally understandable. Any of these states of being happen, and they will, just drop back in to that central intention, which is just to get quiet without disappearing, to settle without getting small. Perhaps get quiet enough in the sit that you're able to feel, to hear the peace, the calm. It's always there. If we can just slow down enough, if we can pay attention in the right way to recognize it. And that's not meant to be, hippie nonsense or meditative cliche. That's a real thing. It's there. It's just that we're often so caught up in the experience of living that we miss that kind of baseline that is accessible, and increasingly accessible with practice. Final moment. In this final minute, let's make it as if the meditation was starting now. Everything that came before, it's history. Because gone is the Roman Empire. Long gone. This is it right here, right now. Don't feel the need to rush in and do anything different. Just renew your commitment to stillness, to peace. And then when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, maybe just gently open them back up. Bringing some gentle movement back into your body. Now, before everything comes back online, a final notice. What were the effects, if any, of this practice? How did it go? How do you feel right now? Just observing as opposed to labeling or judging. And you may have a question that comes up, and if that's the case, that's good too, because here we all are in community sitting together. And let's come all the way back. All right. One final little add before we completely break and open it up. I like to do this, just a little tap at the sternum or at the center of your being, at your, what the Buddhists would call your heart mind. And just a feeling of gratitude or compassion or happiness or whatever salutary word you want to attach to it. And sometimes we send to others. Today, sending to yourself, thanking yourself. Thanking yourself if this was easy and restful, and especially thanking yourself if it wasn't. All right. There it is, my friends. I'm just gonna stop my little timer here. Okay. How did that land? Any questions, any comments about things that came up or didn't? And it's totally okay if you've been you just dropped right down. Was that Larissa? Hey. Nice. Right on. For sure. Yeah, Wonderful. That's wonderful. And I think that there was someone, was that, yeah. Here. Good stuff, Nicole. And yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different approaches to that when we're rattled by something like that. Some people will choose to double down, kind of redouble their efforts to settle on what they were initially focused on. The other play there is, I think, is to just say, oh, okay, the wind is there. The wind is me. Like, the wind is the practice. And, but again, if that jangles you, maybe not so much. Yeah. For what it's worth, actually, Nicole, too, I should say, is one cool aspect of this particular way of sitting, at least for me, is that on the days where, because I'm offering the cues to all of you to let go of judgment and to just observe. But of course, like I said, practicing, not a finished product. So, I have my days where I'm, it's kind of 2/3 or whatever the way through the sit, and I feel like, oh, well, this wasn't a very good one. I'm all just, haven't really settled down at all. What kind of meditator are you, buddy? That sort of, all that, the little squawking, the devil of my not so good nature on my one shoulder saying, you're not good at this, you're not good at this. Get up and do something, that or whatever it is. And yet, and this is a real thing, no matter how distracted or dysregulated I feel like I've been or I am, beneath and kind of parallel to that is a settling. Like, you know what I mean? Like after 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, and it changes or it varies, but where things do get calmer. So, it's, to some extent, it's just being patient and seeing that little subtlety. Yeah. Anyone else? Deb. Hey. Please. No, please to share. Hey, hey. All right. Right on. Good call. That's awesome. Right. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. Huh. Oh no. Huh. For real. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So good. Oh, no, that's totally legit. It's all good. Uh, and anyone else out there? I should also say too. I was saying earlier on that I don't necessarily see all the people on the screen. Like I have to kind of flip from screen to screen. So it was just good luck that I could see Deborah waving. So if there's someone out there that wanted to share or had a question, by all means, feel free to drop that. I should also probably, I'm going to just stop the record on the other, just while if there's anyone that wants to throw that out. For those of you out there on the interweb, bye. See you again next time.